It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Good afternoon. This is not George Plaster. This is your new host, Billy Derrick, just for the moment, not permanently. We will check in with George. He was at the introductory press conference for new Titans head coach Brian Callahan, the 20th head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Of course, Kelly Holcomb is with us per usual as well. And good news, my car is out of the mud, so we'll be back in the studio tomorrow. So that's a good thing there. But let's start things off checking in with George from his car, riding back.
Where it's pouring.
Yeah, George, what are the takeaways?
Well, first of all, I thought Brian Callahan did a really nice job in the press conference. I will probably go a different route than other people will. I love the fact that he got emotional about certain things. And Billy, you have to remember, God made us all different. Some of us are very stoic and unemotional, and then other people like me can be emotional. And, I've found sometimes in my broadcast life that, the emotions got the best of me. I can remember the day Nick Hunter passed away, the day that I talked about my dad passing away. And so, I like that part of Brian Callahan. It tells me that there's somebody for real behind the suit. The other thing is it's very clear that he knows football, but they all know football. Anybody that gets hired in that position knows football. I don't think we learned a whole lot about what it was they were seeking in the interview process. I asked that question because Rand Carthon, as you all will see in the press conference, really didn't tell us anything about here were the priorities of what we were looking for. Now, they keep going back to this whole collaboration thing. We're going to work together, which seems a little bit like they're taking a shot at Mike Vrabel. And if that be the case, so be it. I think we've all figured out that Carthon and Vrabel, we're not seeing eye to eye on things. But they do keep bringing that up. So that clearly is one thing. I think you can deduce from the hire that they want to get the offense out of the dark ages and absolutely, take it into the 21st century, have the ability to throw the football. They have a quarterback who we all at least feel good about, and hopefully we'll feel even better a year from now. I think that was an important piece of why they went offensive coordinator. And I think in that respect, it makes all the sense in the world.
Let's bring Kelly in here. Kelly, of course, was not there, but I don't know. We're going to show it some, Kelly, but, I don't know if you got to watch or listen to any of it, and you may not be able to speak a ton on it, but kind of bouncing off of George, what are kind of your initial takeaways from the hire, but also if you were able to hear any of it?
Yeah, I just think the being a young guy, being an offensive guy, we've all said that. I mean, I think that they've turned the page on that. That always happens in the National Football League. When you got a defensive coach, the next coach is usually an offensive coach. Then if that doesn't work, they'll go back to it just always happens that way. I can remember my agent talking about that stuff when I still played. So I'm with George. I don't know if it was the dark ages, but it was close. And I think that he's got to, he's got to establish things. He's got to get some playmakers in this organization. Like there's been no playmakers like Derrick Henry. They relied on Derrick Henry forever. But they've got to have some guys that can go get the ball, that can take the top off the defense, that can run routes that they just haven't had. DeAndre Hopkins is probably the closest guy that they've had, but they hadn't had. So I think there's a lot of things going on, a lot of optimism going on. But, hey, we all say this: talk is cheap, and we'll just have to see how he does in his first stint as a head coach. I think he's got a bright future, but I don't know. We don't know that. So he's got some work to do, and I think he understands that.
Yeah, George, you mentioned this, and we're going to go to Rand Carthon. I'll start with Rand Carthon, and then we'll kind of throughout this first hour, we'll go to what Callahan said. I did notice, though, George, I got to watch a little bit of it. Subtle, I don't know about that shots, but maybe some slight jabs at the way Vrabel operated, throughout his time. Nothing direct, but you could tell that, they wanted a complete 180, really. I mean, from the Vrabel style and approach to kind of today's day and age of analytics in football. And so I did notice that, but let's go ahead and hop in. I'm going to show a little bit of Rand Carthon, and then we'll go a little bit later to Brian Callahan.
That's not a part of this organization I feel the need to thank is Zach Taylor, head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. Zach was his ability to communicate with us, about Brian I feel is unmatched, and I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to him. So thank you, Zach, for all the help you provided. Going into the process a little bit, as well documented, as you guys know, we interviewed 9 candidates over the course of 2 weeks or so. It was a long process. I feel like we met with a lot of candidates, mostly via Zoom. We had one in person, as well as the second round of interviews that were in person. I want to thank those gentlemen for the time that they gave us. Some guys were still in the playoff hunt, and so it was a little bit of a situation to kind of work around schedules and when teams made guys available to us, but we made it work. I thought our process was very thorough. It allowed us to see the best of each candidate, which ultimately led us to who we're here to celebrate now in Brian Callahan. I'm going to stop calling him Brian Callahan because we call him Callie. So the one thing that stood out to us with Callie was just his ability to not only know what he wants, but be able to articulate that in a clear and concise manner. And what that would allow us to do, it allow our players to understand what their roles are and go out and execute and play fast, which is what we're going to do. But the only other side of that, as a scout, as a personnel guy, it gives us the ability to know what we're going out to hunt for. And one thing that we keep talking about here as our group is hunting at the same time isn't the same as hunting together. And under Brian Callahan, we will be going out and hunting together. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited, and I'm actually ready to get off this podium and get ready to get started. So with that said, we'll bring up our controlling owner, Miss Amy Adams-Strunk.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And wow, it's been an exciting week. I am thrilled to be here to introduce our new head coach, Brian Callahan. And going into this interview process, we knew Brian was a really special candidate. We knew his background and his extensive experience. We saw the list of quarterbacks he's worked with and elite offenses he's been a part of. We knew about his deep knowledge and understanding of the game. And on a personal note, I knew that we both shared the connection of having fathers who passed down their love of football to their children. And after all that research and the reviews of people whose lives and careers he has impacted so deeply, then we got to meet Brian. He exceeded all of our expectations. It was clear how the meeting quickly shifted from your standard interview to a player breakdown session that he and Rand had a very special chemistry between them. Honestly, watching that interaction unfold made us even more confident that he was our next head coach. As our second interview went on, we realized that we didn't want him leaving the building without agreeing to be our next head coach. I've heard various things about me grabbing him and grabbing his legs, but anyway, it was a mutual thing here. When it came time to ask him, we were so happy to learn that he wanted to be a Titan as much as he wanted him to be. We are thrilled that we get to enter this next era of Titans football with him at the helm. As I've said time and time again, I will never shy away from saying that I have extremely high expectations for our football team and really our entire organization. I expect us to build a team that is going to have sustained success and bring Lombardi trophies to the city of Nashville. I am confident that we have put the right pieces in place to bring that goal to life and build a future that Titan fans will be proud of. With that, I'd like to introduce the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, Brian Callahan.
This is a pretty surreal moment for me. I need to fix this for you. Is that good? You don't get to these places in front of rooms like this with incredible places in front of rooms like this with incredible people sitting here watching this without a lot of help along the way. And so I want to make sure that I point out the people that have done that. And most importantly, you're gonna have to bear with me because it might be a little more difficult than I thought it was before I got up here. This really is a lifelong dream of mine to be standing at this podium in front of everybody here, to be a head coach at the highest level, to be this franchise's head coach is a great responsibility and an incredible honor. I'm excited to put in the work and hard work necessary for us to be able to have the success that we all envision. There's great things about Nashville and there's great things about the Tennessee Titans. And part of my job is to make sure that we bring all those things to life. I'd like to thank first and foremost, Amy, Kenneth, and Barclay for giving me this opportunity to run this historic franchise in partnership with you. Again, it's an incredible responsibility that I do not take lightly. And it's one that I'm deeply appreciative for. From the moment of our first Zoom meeting, I felt an unbelievable connection to the people in the room. And that was, as Rand mentioned, Anthony Robertson, Chad Brinker, Rand Carthon was in there, Burke was in there, Bryce was in there. Just the connection from the get-go was incredible. And I knew that it was going to be a place that I wanted to call home. It felt like that from the very beginning. I'm thankful that they felt the same way. I was about to make an impassioned plea to Rand as our meeting was concluding on Monday evening, and it turns out I didn't have to do that. They wanted me about exactly the same way that I wanted them, and that everything felt right. The relationships felt right. The energy felt right. When I was walking around the building, and we had opportunities to meet people from different parts of the organization, it was an incredible feeling. It felt like a family. I've been fortunate to be a part of an incredible organization in Cincinnati that felt very similar, and it was comfortable to me to feel that. There's unbelievable people here. I haven't met all of them, and I can't wait to meet everybody that works in this organization. But man, if you guys could feel the way I felt after that first Zoom meeting, I was about to call Rand and be like, "All right, man, let's get it done." I don't care what anybody, you can talk to whoever you want to, but I want it done now. And that's how I felt. It was very important to me that this is the place that I wanted to be. And I'm very thankful that they felt the same way. I do want to point out, really most importantly, though, that there was an instant connection with Rand and I. And we see building a team. We see the culture of the building the same. And that's an important part of this entire process. His energy and passion for the Tennessee Titans made me believe in him. And that's what made me want to be here, standing in this room. And I'm, again, thankful that I get to be here, because a lot of that is because of what Rand presented as we started this process. He's an excellent communicator, and he's an outstanding person. He's earned my respect immediately. And Rand, I can't wait to get going. I do want everyone to know that this has felt like a family to me from the start. And that's one of the most important things to me is my family. And so when you talk about that, there's a quote from Jurgen Klopp. I didn't want to just rip it off and present it as my own, but he had said it at one point. He's a soccer coach at Liverpool. He said, when you agree on a common idea and work towards it together, you can create something very special. And that's what I believe in. That's what we'll do here. That to me is what this is all about. And there is no ability to have success without those principles. All right. I would like to thank the Cincinnati Bengals organization, Mike Brown, who is probably one of the greatest men that I've ever met. I'll get it together in a second. Don't worry. Katie and Troy Blackburn, their daughters Elizabeth and Caroline, and Duke Tobin and his staff. They gave me an incredible opportunity to grow, and they were patient, and they invested in me, and I'll forever be grateful for that. The next one, again, you can see how much these people mean to me. I'll get it together. All right. And then probably most importantly, Zach Taylor. He's a great friend. He's been an incredible mentor, and he's a fantastic football coach. Thank you for everything. All right. Thank you to the players and the coaching staff. Obviously, without an incredible amount of hard work, I don't get to stand here. And there's a lot of people that go into that, staff, players, particularly the quarterback room, Joe Burrow, Jake Browning. Those guys I'm incredibly indebted to. I wish I could list the whole team, but I can't. We'll be here too long. You guys will get bored. But I loved working with those players every day. There's something special about where I came from that I hope to replicate here. I think you can see it in how I feel when I speak about it. But I love going to work every single day there. And that's the environment we're going to create here. I want a place where people love coming to work. They enjoy everybody they're around. And that creates an environment that's sustainable, and you can have sustained excellence and have a chance to win a lot of football games. And so that's what we're after. I would like to thank, probably most importantly than anybody else in this room, my wife, Allison, who's sitting right here. She's everything I could ever ask for in a partner. This is a difficult profession, and I wouldn't be here today, and I couldn't do my job if it wasn't for her. To my two wonderful children, thank you for being good today. Nora, right here, and Ronan, right there. You say hi, bud? Yep. All right. And there's a lot of people that I don't get to say here that have invested in my career and invested in me.
All right. I just sent
hugely
you another
important into me getting to this point in my career. But I apologize. I can't list everybody again. But thank you to everybody who's ever invested in me, who spent time with me, who's helped me grow. I'm very appreciative for all that time and effort. I'd like to thank my parents, Bill and Val. They are not here today. They're watching somewhere on the stream. They've been the most influential people in my life. They've been my biggest supporters, and they've given me an incredible amount of confidence. They've shown me the type of love and nurturing that allowed me to be the person I am today. And there's nobody that I'd lean on more at any point in my life than both of them.
Are you able?
They've been the single most greatest influence I've ever had.
Are you able to just rejoin from your phone?
Thank you for the love and support.
I don't have enough juice.
Okay.
Just a couple people in my family I'd like to point out.
Starting.
I've done that once.
My brother Danny, his wife Susie, My sister Catherine, her husband Chris, their
Okay,
kids
are you
Liam and
trying to
Evelyn,
restart.
my youngest sister Jackie, and my family means everything to me. I love you guys. Thank you for everything. My in-laws, Connie and Jack, my brother-in-law, Jack, his wife, Sherry, along with their 3 kids, Jack, Navy, and Wells. That's a lot of Jacks in there for those of you who are counting. Thank you for all the love and support as well. All right, there's 2 people here that I'd like to recognize. But first, my high school coaches at De La Salle High School in Concord, California. It's a place that I'm incredibly proud to have gone, incredibly proud to be a part of. And specifically Bob Laddister and Terry Edson, who are not here today, but hopefully they're watching this. Thank you for showing me what commitment to hard work was and what it meant to be a part of a team. I'd like to have special recognition for Mark Pinella, his wife Sue, his daughters Francesca and Sophia, who are sitting somewhere. They're here somewhere. Mark and Sue are right here in the front. Mark was my quarterbacks coach in high school. He is a Franklin resident here today. And he helped raise me into the man that I am standing right in front of you. The last one I'd like to point out is Patrick Walsh. Patrick Walsh is currently the head coach at Sarah High School in San Mateo, California. He gave me my first coaching and teaching job in 2008. And so I felt like it was important that he be here for this. He came all the way from California, took the red eye last night to be here. So thank you. He's one of my closest friends and incredible mentors. And again, I would not be sitting here in front of you without his love, support, and guidance, and he's always been there for me. Thanks, P-Dub. Yep. All right. Moving on to past the emotional stuff here. I'm glad that's over. What we're trying to do here is establish a culture of high standards and clear communication, both on and off the field. Meetings, walkthroughs, practices, how we interact in the building, how we work in the front office, how our scouts work, how our players work, how everybody in this building works. Everyone's going to be held to a high standard. We want to be held to a high standard. I've never met a player in football that doesn't want to be held to the highest possible standard so we can go make that happen and get it done. There's going to be excitement to walk into this building every day. You guys saw how emotional I got talking about Cincinnati. Well, that's how I want our players and people to feel here. When you walk in the building every day, there's an incredible excitement about what's ahead. Anybody who deals with our players, the expectation is to bring great energy, have great experience, and have great expertise. We want everyone who affects them to be able to have that enthusiasm and our shared vision. We're going to be a connected football team. We're going to be a connected organization. I believe in it. If you don't have a connection, it's really hard to do anything worthwhile. The business of this sport really is all about people and relationships. And so if we don't have any sort of connection, there's really no point in us doing our jobs the way we do it. This is what makes it fun. This is what I enjoy the most, is being able to be connected with the people that I work with every single day. All right. Everyone wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves. That's what makes this sport special. That's what makes sports in general special. But if you're part of something bigger than yourself, you sacrifice for the greater good. You give up some of your individual successes and aspirations so we can lift the team. And there's been that trait goes from high school through pro football. Every team I've been on that's been great has had those traits. And it's a critical part of building a great football team. Being a great teammate, playing hard for each other, helping everyone around them accomplish a greater goal is the principles of what this program will be built on. Those are the things that we're ready to accomplish as a football team, as an organization. I cannot wait to get started. These are the things that I enjoy this part, but the work is really what I enjoy the most. And so I can't wait to get going. I can't wait to see our players. For all those guys out there watching, I can't wait to meet you. Please come see me. My door's open. I can't wait to start building our relationship so we can go win a bunch of football games and have a lot of success. The last thing I'll say is that really to the Titans fans, the city of Nashville, and the great state of Tennessee, we're going to need your incredible support. You're a huge part of this. We need Nissan Stadium to be the most feared stadium that people walk into every Sunday. We need every possible bit of energy, every last amount of enthusiasm. Our players need to feel the energy. I can't wait to see you guys there. It's going to be a lot of work ahead, but a lot of fun as well. I'm proud. I'm humbled to be standing here before you as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Thank you.
Brian,
yeah.
What are your feelings about Will Levis, and have you connected with him?
I have. I called Will I don't even know what day it is anymore, but I called Will a few days ago after I got the job, and then I saw him here today. He was working out, so I got a chance to catch up with him. I told him he's leaving town, I think, tomorrow morning, but he'll be back. But I've really enjoyed getting to know him. I can't wait to get to work with him. He's got a lot of really special physical talents that I'm excited to go see if we can make better. And everything about him so far has been fantastic, and I'm excited to get to go further down into it.
Brian, your catalog of quarterbacks you work with is pretty extensive. What are some of the things you learned from guys like Peyton Manning, Stafford, et cetera, Burrow, that you want to bring to help Levis develop the way he needs?
Yeah, I've been incredibly fortunate to be around great players, and those guys all bring something different and unique. When you talk about Peyton Manning and his incredible ability to prepare, the attention to detail that he brought every single day, the intensity that he went about his job. Those years I was with him showed me what it was like to be what a great quarterback should look like. And not everybody's going to be him, and nor is anybody expected to be. But the foundation of how he went about his business was pretty incredible. And I've taken that everywhere I've gone. As far as the work ethic involved, the attention to detail involved, those things are really important. Obviously Matthew's a great player in his own right. And I learned that Matthew was very different from Peyton, but they were also great players, and you let those players be themselves. And I didn't try to make Matthew do anything that he didn't want to do. He's not Peyton Manning. Their personalities are different, but they're both great players. And what I learned, Matthew was an incredibly tough player. I've never seen a locker room rally around a player like him the way that they did when I was with him in Detroit. He's one of the toughest competitors I've ever been around. And so you see these traits everywhere you go, and you start to realize what it takes for quarterbacks to be successful. And I feel like I've got a lot of guys I've been around. Joe Burrow, obviously, been around a different version of Joe. I got Joe as a young player. A lot of these guys were veteran players when I was around them. And Joe's a remarkable player. He's got a great feel for the game. And so to have an environment as a young player where he was growing and having conversations about what he liked and didn't like really helped me learn how to be flexible with the approach for those players and put them in position to do well. As far as how they go about their daily routine, what they like conceptually and schematically, those conversations in the quarterback room are able to help foster hopefully a lot of success. And so,
Brian, I'm sure everything will depend on.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that we want to do to start is put the players we have in great position. Let them be able to find their roles, define what those roles are for them, and put them in the matchups that we feel are to our advantage. That's a very broad, general offensive philosophy, but that's sort of the starting point. We want to be great detail in the passing game, route definition, route spacing. Want to be able to complete balls at a high percentage. That's always going to be the goal. The run game, we still want to be physical. Don't get that part twisted. That's been part of the Titans' identity for a long time, and it will continue to be. We'll be a physical football team, and we'll be able to run the ball the way we need to win football games. But that's probably the best way I could say it without going too far in the weeds.
You've been known as a guy who has been able to take quarterbacks and maximize what they do well, like you mentioned before, even to the point of adjusting from Joe Burrow to Jake Browning in the middle of the year. What's kind of been the key to that you've found in terms of maximizing what a guy can do?
Communication, being able to hear what quarterbacks are comfortable with, what they like. The offense is always going to have enough plays. There's always going to be enough scheme. And so you want to know what the quarterbacks feel great about. And Jake was incredible with his ability to communicate what he liked. We'll put those things in for him so he could have success. And that's part of what fosters a great quarterback room is the communication between myself, the coordinator, the quarterbacks coach, and the quarterbacks in the room, is knowing what they like and what they do well. And we try to do as much of that as possible. So if a quarterback says, I don't like something, we're not going to use it. We're not going to call it. And that to me is the most critical part. If you have great feedback and great rapport and a great relationship with those guys, they'll do a great job of giving you the information you need to help them and put them in position to be successful. And Jake was fantastic at it, and obviously led to quite a bit of success.
All right. We'll stop it there. We got to hit a commercial break, got to pay the bills, and then we'll come back. We'll get a few thoughts. We'll get Kelly's opinion there. We'll get George to rejoin us. We'll maybe show a graphic or two, and then we'll check back in with some more of those questions. But let's hit a break, and then we'll be right back here on the George Plaster Show.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
I'm Watson Brown.
I'm Kelly Holcomb.
I'm Billy Derrick.
We're the George Plaster Show. We've been Nashville's best sports talk for the last 30 years. And you know what? We still are.
Catch us live weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time in Nashville on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the podcast version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hard-working team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs.
Welcome back. George Plaster Show. There's George, there's Kelly, and we're talking about the Titans making it official with Brian Callahan. We will show a little bit more. It was a long presser. George just came back from it, and Kelly, you've been listening. I guess we'll start with you here, Mr. Kelly Holcomb. What do you think so far? And as George mentioned, he got pretty emotional there especially at the beginning, which I think right away, might have tugged at the heartstrings, maybe some Titans fans as well.
Man, I like it. I mean, I'm that way too. I get emotional like that too when I'm talking about people that I care about, and I thought he did really well, man. I think that shows that he's an authentic guy. I really do. I don't really know him. I've never asked Peyton about him, but he seemed like he did really well in that press conference. I'm going to piggyback on what George said. I thought I just like people that are authentic, and when you get to that echelon of the NFL and being a head coach, I've seen so many guys that are not authentic. They're kind of phony. And it certainly does not seem like he's that way. I don't think Zach Taylor was that way. I like people like that. I don't like people that are phony. I just want to be told, you're dealing with men, and a lot of times you get all the cliches with coaches, we're moving in a different direction. Well, tell me, don't tell me we're moving in a different direction. Tell me what, I need to get better at, or what I did wrong, or, just like we're moving in a different direction. Or I had a coach call me one time and said, well, we're not sure where we're going to go. We think we're going to bring you back. Well, I knew just talking to him that he wasn't going to bring me back. I never heard from him again. I don't like people like that. I like authentic people that are not phony, and it seems like he's that way. And I think that Rand Carthon, I think Amy Adams Strunk, obviously all those people got together. They met about it, but just like he was talking about, he felt like he was at home. He felt he felt a camaraderie with those guys. Everybody's going to say they feel like a family. I mean, that's that's another cliche of the NFL. Everybody wants to be a family. Well, I mean, some teams are like that, but some teams aren't. And I think that he had that when he was in Cincinnati, and I think he wants to bring that here. And I think he's been around some really good players, and he knows what makes those guys tick. And I think that he can certainly help the guy that they've got behind center and Will Levis. I think he can help him reach where he wants to go.
Okay, let's go to George on a car phone.
Yeah, Billy, I'm laughing because Kelly said it really well. It's a lot easier to be a family when you're 10-1. I bet it felt a lot more like a family in Philly in the first 11 games than it did the last 6.
That's right.
The last 6 probably felt like a family that had a death, and 2 or 3 of them ganged up on the one that was the executor of the will, and what they had was total dysfunction. So they all talk family. Who cares? In the end, this is all about scoring touchdowns and winning games. And, the family thing sounds nice, but it doesn't really pay the bills in the NFL.
No, it doesn't. And honestly, I thought it was interesting too. We'll get right back to him. How, he thanked a lot of people, right? It wasn't just, 2, 3, 4 people. You could tell Zach Taylor's had a huge impact, got emotional there, his family. So yeah, this will be interesting. We're going to go right back to it though, and probably close out at least most of this first hour with more of Brian Callahan.
What is your philosophy? What is your philosophy on defense? There are a lot about your offensive stuff, but what's your defense philosophy?
Yeah, there's a lot of things you talk defensively. We're working through, what that's going to look like for us by the types of people we're going to bring in. But at the end of the day, you got to have a very flexible and adaptable defense. You still have to be physical. You still have to run and hit. You have to tackle well. You have to force errors. There's a lot of things you can do that in the coverage structure game, in the pressure package game, where it makes it really hard on offense. And so I know it gives me problems. I know the hard defense is the game plan against. And those are the things that I'm looking for in the style of defense we're going to play. Without getting too far down, a bunch of characteristics don't mean much until we put the pads on. But that's what I look for. Is what makes it hard for me as an offensive coach. That's the style of defense that I'm looking for.
Are you 3-4?
Oh, they're multiple nowadays. 5-man fronts are part of football. Whether you're a 3-4, whether you're an under front, there's going to be those types of players. Everything about the way the structure of the defense is built here is going to be pretty similar as a starting point. But I hesitate to put labels on what and how we're going to do it at this point.
How much has the idea of player feedback kind of informed your growth and development as a coach?
It's a critical part of it. I think players, they're the ones out there doing it, and you want to put them in great position. And so you want to know what they like, what they think. A lot of times players have great ideas. They come to the sideline in a game and have a suggestion. And usually when they feel really confident about it, it tends to work. And that's part of the communication that's involved from player to player, from coach to player. You have to have those guys feel like they're in a place where they can say what they need to say. And they don't listen to everything. It's not always exactly, not everything they suggest works every time, but you want an environment where they feel like they can do that and feel like they can have input into what's going on, because they're the ones that have to go out and do it. And so if a player says, I don't understand this, how come we don't do it this way? Well, it's my job to explain why. And then if he just still doesn't understand it, I ask him, well, what do you think about it? And you can have a good dialogue, and a lot of times you're able to find a great solution to whatever the problem is you're trying to solve.
How would you describe, or how would you want others to describe your teaching style, your coaching style?
My coaching style is consistent. My demeanor is pretty consistent. I pride myself on being a great teacher. That's first and foremost. As a coach, that's all you really care about is how well can you teach and articulate to the players what they need to do. I have plenty of intensity. I'm a pretty laid back demeanor most of the time, as you guys will see, but when it's time to make corrections and bring the energy that's necessary, I can do that. But my coaching style is a teaching coaching style. We're trying to make sure that our guys know exactly what to do, how to do it, and can go execute at a really high level and as fast as humanly possible.
Protection's been a huge issue here in the last few years. Yeah. How confident are you in your ability to help identify players who can fix that, and how much schematically can you fix that?
There's a lot of things that go into protection. Some of it starts with as simple as you got to go win. You got to win versus tight coverage. Protection is an everybody problem. The quarterback's got to get rid of the ball on time. They have to work through progressions quickly. So to say that it's a specifically the offensive line needs to fix the protection problem, I don't agree with that. I think it's a holistic offensive issue if you have protection problems, and there's a lot of ways you can help weaknesses, highlight strengths, and everybody's involved in the process. As far as profiles of offensive linemen and players, obviously you're looking for the guys that are great at pass pro. You're looking for guys that can anchor, guys that got great length. We'll talk about all the traits at a later date, but schematically you can help a ton. You can chip, you can bang edges. Backs got to be fantastic in pass protection. They got to know who to block and how to block them. So it's a holistic offensive issue. And so our job is to find a way to make sure everyone knows all the specifics of what we're trying to get done, and then they can technically go execute it.
Some of those specific
play
traits.
caller, Brian?
Excuse me?
Will you be the offensive play caller? And
Yes, I will.
So
Yes, I will.
how big of a transition do you expect that to be?
Not a big one at all. The way we've worked in Cincinnati, very collaborative. I've been with Zach for 5 years, working with him as the primary play caller and me as the offensive coordinator. I feel really great about the process. Part of that is bringing in great people to help me. And that's a huge part of our next couple of weeks is finding those people, because when you have an offensive staff that you trust and guys do a great job with their areas of expertise, our third down, our red zone, by the time you get to Sunday, the game plan is mainly set. Now where guys earn their stripes is when you have to adjust and adapt mid flow of a game. And that's where you have to have great people involved in the game plan. But I don't see it as a big adjustment. It's going to be a collaborative approach on offense. And we're going to make sure we get the best plays and put our players in the best position. So I'm excited about that part, and I'm excited to get a good staff put together.
Brian, taking you back down that emotional road after you accepted the job, what was your first conversation like with your dad?
It was cool. It was cool. I think I asked him, I don't know how many fathers and sons have been head coaches in the NFL. I don't think it's many. And that's a really, I think it's a very prideful thing for him to be associated with, him and I. And I just, it's been a lot. You live this lifestyle, and there's a lot of ups and downs, and there's a lot of adversity that comes your way in coaching. And so just the fact that I've been able to stand up here and he's been able to do the same thing, for me, that's a huge honor. Obviously you want to be like your dad,
The most important thing, Brian, you learned over the past 5 years in Cincinnati, that you felt like, okay, I'm ready to be a head coach now?
Yeah, that's a good question. The greatest thing about Zach, for me, And my experience in Cincinnati was he was an open book. And so I was involved in a lot of the things that came across his desk, a lot of conversations, very involved in the scouting process in Cincinnati, as a lot of you know. And so just seeing all of those processes work over 5 years, seeing the pitfalls and problems where the landmines can be, his allowing me that access to those conversations has been huge. And I walk into this role today, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of surprises, but I feel very confident that I'm prepared for it. And it's because of his allowance and access to what occurred on a daily basis. And he would often come by and say, "Hey, you should think about this for a second and write this down for when you're doing this. Here's how you should handle it." So just incredible investment in me that helped me grow. And again, I feel because of all those experiences, I'm kind of uniquely positioned for my first time doing this. I feel really good about it.
Learn those things, Brian. Having learned those things, what was it about this specific job that was attractive to you?
It felt just like the place that I was at. And I mean that in the most complimentary way possible, because I loved being there. And you felt the atmosphere here. You felt the intensity. You felt the want to be great. And I walked in here on Monday for my interview, and that's one of the things that stood out is there's a lot of passionate people here that want the Titans to be a great football team and a great organization. And I felt like that's where I want to be. I want to be a part of that. I want to be with people like that. And that's the highest compliment I can pay, is that I walked in immediately and it didn't even have to do anything. There was nothing about the football part that I even cared about. It was the people and the people in place here that made me feel like this was the perfect fit for me.
In the interview process, what were the most important things that they wanted out of this?
I guess that might be a question for them. I think they want to, I think Rand said it before, and I believe it really to my core, is they want a partnership. I think Rand and I are going to build a great one. That I don't have any doubt about. And so that to me is the starting point, is the personalities to mesh and fit and build a partnership with a vision towards building a football team that's got the ability to have sustained success. And I can't answer more of that. Maybe they can chime in, but that to me was the biggest part, is that we were forming a partnership and a relationship that we're going to work really hard together. I love Rand's line. You say it one more time, Rand, about hunting.
Same time isn't the same as hunting together.
Hunting at the same time isn't the same as hunting together. And yeah, we're going to hunt together.
Touched on your staff there. What would that process be like? You have some people in mind when you consider people that have been on the staff?
Yeah, we're going to take our time. We'll be patient. We have people in mind. There's people we're going to talk to. We're not in a rush. We can talk to as many people as we like. As those things come more into a clearer focus, as I actually get to go sit in my office and work, you guys will hear more about it. But the process won't be rushed. We're gonna get the right people. We're gonna find great teachers. We're gonna find people of high character, find great communicators, and guys that coach with great energy and passion. And so that's what we're looking for. And we hope to find them. And we're gonna leave no stone unturned to find those guys. And
I saw you had mentioned, you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. How do you go about holding each coach and player to a high standard and just, figuring out where they count?
You have to define them. You have to define what the standard is. A lot of that has to do with execution. The way I like to say it is be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. And so as you show guys what the standard is, what the expectation is, the easiest way to do it is, if they don't meet it, is to show what that looks like. This isn't what we're looking for. This isn't what we want. You can be very clear and very demanding without having to go jumping through hoops and having the fire raging from your head. But it's pretty simple. Here's what the standard is. Here's the expectation. And then when it's not being met, make sure that we're coaching and teaching where we've fallen short. And that's, to me, is the easiest way to describe how you keep people accountable and you hold people to a high standard.
And with that, you look at week 6 last year, right before the bye week, you called the guys out, and then coming back, you reemphasized your message. You guys went out and dropped 31 against the 49ers.
Yeah.
How do you know when it's right to, okay, I need to get on this guy, let him know, but then when you got to pull back?
It's just a feel. It's again, the biggest part of it is making sure you've built strong relationships with the players. And so that they receive those criticisms and coaching points in whatever messaging you deliver them. My messaging is usually pretty similar to how I'm speaking right now. But there's a time and a place where that messaging might need to be a little firmer. It might need to be a little more colorful. And you know, based on where your team is at, when that might be necessary. And again, I've known a lot of those guys at Cincinnati for a lot of their careers. Some of those guys I've been with for 5 years, some for 4. So I feel really confident in where I felt they were in that moment and their ability to receive the message. And sometimes there's a place for that. And I felt like that was the right time, and it certainly felt like it was. We just had played a really sloppy game the week before and didn't execute again. Same thing. The standards weren't being met. And so the idea is to make sure we hold that everybody to the same standard and a high one. And so I felt like it was a time and place for that.
Some of the lessons growing up around a coach, and like you said, 10 years old, sitting in your dad's office, form you and teach you not just to be a teacher, but a leader and what it takes to be a head coach?
Yeah, you learn probably more by osmosis, just watching people. And then you reflect back and you realize that maybe you were learning something along the way. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I was learning a lot about leadership at 14 years old. I was sitting in John Gruden's quarterback meetings, and I was just more in awe of the players there and listening to John talk. And but I reflect back on those moments a lot. And there's things that you learn about how people handle it, how they speak, that you hopefully take bits and pieces of. And it's just been a lifelong journey of doing that. And so I can't point to anything specific necessarily, but it certainly helped me be around this game for a long time. I feel like I don't really know any other way or any way of life other than football. So yeah, that's the best way to put it.
Okay, so that's Brian Callahan. Again, more of his comments. And we'll bring George Kelly back in here. Guys, something I noticed before we go to the break is, working with not only Joe Burrow, but also Jake Browning, right? A guy, it's not like their offense fell off a cliff, when Jake Browning came in. And so I think initially, George, you look at that, especially if you're a Titans fan, and you're pretty confident what he might be able to do with Will Levis.
Well, I think it's probably what got him above just simply being noticed by NFL teams, but really noticed, because Browning at that point had been sort of a journeyman who really did not have a lot in his resume as a pro player to suggest that good things could happen. And then there was that Monday night game, and I want to say it was in Jacksonville when he beat the Jags. And that got a lot of people's attention, Kelly, because Browning was really good that night.
No, and that's what a lot of guys. It was just like myself, George. It's like a lot of guys. You just need an opportunity, and if you get into a good situation, and you get in, the timing is everything. And he was around some good coaches, and like that. It dropped off obviously with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow he's different, but they still had an opportunity to do some things, and they kind of fell short at the end of the year. But when you can do that with a guy that hadn't really played, and then you can, I think he was 3-0 in his first 3 starts. So you just need an opportunity, and it says something about the coaches that you're playing under that can kind of simplify things for you and put you in the best possible positions to win. I know everybody says that. And Callahan said that in his press conference, but that's true. You got to take an evaluation of your team, and you got to say, here's what we do good, here's what we don't do good. We've got to get better at certain things, and then we can build around this. And I think that's what they did with Jake Browning. He's obviously not Joe Burrow, but still, everybody has value. And Nick Saban talks about all that, all the time about value. How can we create more value for you? And they figured out what he could do, and then they put it into a scheme, and they figured it out. So that says something about his coaching. And I love what he said in his press conference. He wants guys that can teach. When you get to the National Football League, a lot of times teaching is over with. I've been around coaches where they didn't really teach you much. They already expected you to know that when you got from college, but you can't take that for granted a lot of times. And the best guys that I were around were still teachers, and that's what I love when he said that. I was really a big fan when he talked about that.
Billy, real quickly, with Tannehill apparently gone, and Will Levis is the starting quarterback, he's got to determine whether Malik Willis has anything at a backup quarterback that can help this team, or does he need to find a Jake Browning Tennessee Titans style? My guess is it's B, that he's going to go looking.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't here when Willis, was here, of course. But I mean, I'm sure there's enough people in the room to be like, hey, we've seen Willis, we know what he's up to. His style, he may just not fit. I could be wrong, but I just don't see Willis as an NFL quarterback.
But you never really know, guys. I mean, a different situation. Yeah. Like I always talk about Jim Plunkett back in the day. He was drafted by the New England Patriots and sucked. He wasn't very good. And then Al Davis picks him up, and he goes on and wins Super Bowls, and he's in the National Football League Hall of Fame. So you never really know how guys are going to pick up a system, and this system might fit Malik Willis. You never know what's going to happen, and he might flourish in something like this. So you can't really close the door on him now, and they might do that tomorrow. I don't know that. But like with a new coaching style, a new coaching staff, I mean, that's what Malik Willis may need.
It's a really good point. Look no further than Tommy DeVito. I don't remember anybody in the offseason saying, let me tell you, the Giants are going to be really good because of this Tommy DeVito.
You never know. You just never know how a guy's going to fit in situations, man. You just never know. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, guys, he'll be the play caller. I mean, I don't think that's a big surprise. He said he feels great about the process, learning under Zach Taylor. Real quick, I mean, what is the OC going to do? I mean, is the OC basically going to be a quarterback coach? I mean, if he's not calling the plays, I know that happens around the league a lot. But Kelly, I mean, what does that look like?
Well, sometimes you get that, man, and I'm not a huge fan of that. But you see a lot of guys doing it. Mike McCarthy does it. Matt LaFleur does it. There's, Sean McVay does it. A lot of times, the head coaches that are play callers, they'll go in and they'll run the meetings. But sometimes when they're out there, they'll allow the offensive coordinator and his title to run the offensive meetings. So it's a different dynamic, that's for sure. But like he didn't call the plays. I think. Did he call plays in Cincinnati or did Zach Taylor? I think Zach Taylor did.
It kind of sounds like it was 50-50.
Right, 50-50. And I think a good
collaborating.
And I will say this. I think good play callers, like I've been around guys that are very, aggressive, and they didn't want anybody to talk to them. But I think when you grow as a team and when you become really good as a team, everybody's involved. Like you'll get a running back coach to, hey, we can do this. Or, if you're the coordinator, if you talk to your running back coach, say, hey, what do you like here? What do you think is good? That's why so many people are going to run game coordinators and pass game coordinators. So I think it's a collaborative effort, and I think that's good when he is not domineering, but he wants to listen to other guys' input. And I think that, that helps the process.
I did think it was funny. We'll go to the break here. One more note. And when he was asked about his dad, Brian, he said he's under contract. There's nothing I can say about that.
Well, he has no choice in that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just can't, I was thinking that maybe he was with the dude the other day. I was just thinking that was probably a done deal, but I'm still going to say he's going to try to go out and get him. And like, if you're the Cleveland Browns, man, like, I know Kevin Stefanski wants him because he's a really good O-line coach and business overrides everything. But like he's got a chance to coach with his son. I think that would be pretty cool for a coach to allow that.
We're going to kind of find out what level of butthole Cleveland wants to be in this deal.
True.
Exactly. All right, let's get to the break. We got quick stat of the day coming up, and we'll check in with Coach B, talk a little college basketball, but right after this.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're we're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Top of the hour on a Thursday. Titans make Brian Callahan official, but it's time to talk a little college hoops. We're going to have Coach Ron Bargatze on the show, but real quick here, stat of the day. Brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards. You can find them out in Shelbyville. All right, let's see what old Matthew's got cooked up today. In the divisional round, Lamar Jackson had 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns. Who was the last quarterback to have 2 passing and 2 rushing touchdowns in a single playoff game?
Kelly. Could it
Is
be
that your guess?
Kaepernick when he dismantled Green Bay?
Is that your final answer? That's a good one.
I don't know if it's my final one, but tell me what you're thinking.
I can't. I'm stumped on this one, man. Yeah, I think you may be right because I can't think of anybody else. I'm thinking, the Michael Vicks. I know that Trevor Lawrence did, but he's only had 1 playoff game, and I don't. Let's go with Colin Kaepernick. I'm with you.
That particular night that I'm referring to, San Fran scored a bunch of points, and Kaepernick, they were running a lot of that read option stuff, What
Right.
the heck? Let's go with it and see what happens.
Incorrect. It's Cam Newton.
Gosh.
Yeah, I like my guess.
Cam Newton has been he's been the answer to two of the questions here of late. Cam Newton.
I don't know. Is there a quarterback that fell off more after that? I mean, made the Super Bowl, and then a few years later, he's not even really in the league.
How long did he play? He didn't play for like 6 or 7 years, did he?
Yeah, not long. Yes, George.
Where did you get that picture of Coach B?
Well, it's on Google Images. I would imagine that's from his time at Vanderbilt. I'm not sure. We may have to get Coach B in to confirm.
Is he ready?
He is.
Okay. Hopefully he has seen the picture. Coach B, speculate. Where's that picture from?
That would be in the 69-70 media guide at Vanderbilt.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Wow. Under Roy Skinner.
Yeah, that's going back a little too far.
That's okay. That's okay. So I'm guessing you're like a bunch of us, and you watched as good a product as the SEC will put out there last night in Tuscaloosa, that Alabama-Auburn game. I liked it because I think the nation has this, all they do is play football. This has become a really good basketball conference.
Well, there's been a lot of great players come out of Alabama over the years, and you can look back to the CM Newton days to see where the tide turned, no pun intended, tide turned there as Wendell Hudson and Ricky Brown and all those guys, all homegrown products, and they were as athletic as anybody, any before or after now.
What I like, Coach B, is the fact that nationally, the rest of the country is going to see 2 or 3 more of these type of things. And I'm thinking both times Tennessee and Kentucky get together, when Tennessee and Auburn get together, Kentucky, Auburn, the SEC is headed toward an incredible February. That's just me. I think this conference is loaded.
Yeah, the Kentucky, is when they're in 5th place, that the league is pretty good, and I think South Carolina is the kind of the surprise of the league so far for sure.
Okay, look at those standings. Do either South Carolina or Georgia have the staying power to get to 9 or 10 conference wins?
Well, those standings are incorrect because I don't see Auburn in there.
They're not. They're not in that top 5.
Yeah. Well, they're 5-1 now, so they should be right there with Alabama in the top spot, just ahead of Tennessee by a half game.
That is correct, and I'll take most of the blame, George. When you wrote it, you didn't have Auburn, but I should have corrected that.
I apologize. I did.
Good catch. Good catch, Coach B.
So, Coach B, let me ask you this about last night. Is that simply Alabama won because it was in Tuscaloosa, and when they go to Auburn, it'll be flipped?
I think so. I think Auburn will win the game on the Plains, but they're going to be at the top of the heap for a long time this year, and Tennessee obviously is good enough to beat anybody on any night. They dismantled Alabama, and then Alabama goes in and beats Auburn. So the league is good. It's strong at the top. You take the top 5 or 6 teams. Georgia probably is the weakest team in the top 6, and nobody really wants to play them in Athens right now.
Okay, let's run through Georgia for just a second, because the book on them has always been that they've never been able to get a coach who could penetrate the AAU Atlanta market. Has Mike White done that, or is it just 6 games where they've won 4 and it'll revert back?
I need to see more of them this year, and when they get a little more balance in the home and away games, and they're having to go on the road and beat any of the teams ahead of them in the standings, it's going to be pretty hard for them to do. But they scare you. I'm very excited about what's happened in Columbia, South Carolina. Man, that's pretty awesome for them to do what they've done.
So talk to me about the fact that they didn't just beat Kentucky. They beat the crap out of Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, they look like they've got 7 or 8 deep, and they've got, strong inside outside balance. So the league is really nice. I mean, it may have been a little while since we've gone 5 and 6 deep like that.
I want to get your gut feeling here, and I don't have anything to base this on, any proof, but it sure looks to me like there is some locker room issue going on at Arkansas. What do you think?
Well, I think that they're probably the disappointing team of the league. If you look at who might have been expected, you would think they'd be the top 4 or 5 in the league for sure, if not higher than that. So I don't know. They've had a lot of turnover in players. That Musselman's style is pretty harem scarum in some ways. So let's just see what happens there. But for them to get beat by Ole Miss like they did recently, it's just really a shock.
Well, for me, I guess the going on the road and getting ripped can always happen. But Saturday, I saw no fight in that team at home against South Carolina. They didn't have a pulse.
Did you see any bench language that I thought was maybe under par? And I thought it looked to me like there's a little chaos going on over there.
That's not going to play well.
No, I really like to watch games and watch how guys go in the game and come out of the games, and the encouragement they get when they come out, and other players encouraging guys coming out of the game. Those kind of things mean a lot, more than we give them credit for sometimes.
I want to get to the Tennessee Vanderbilt situation for a minute. The most likely scenario is that this will be a game where Tennessee has 75% of the crowd. They'll take over Memorial Gym. The odds are they're going to win the game, and the odds are even better afterwards that Rick Barnes will continue on how great a coach Jerry Stackhouse is, and the same stuff he's been repeating for 4 years. But Coach B, last week, a lot of people heard what you said on this show. I've gotten a lot of feedback from it. Most people used the word passionate. Some used the word angry to describe what it was you were saying. So I'm going to give you the floor, and you take it wherever you want.
Well, there's got to be a higher, I really care factor, and there's not much of that. That's what I miss. The passion that we've enjoyed in Nashville for a long time, even in some down years, we haven't seen anything like this. And I don't know, it's a combination of things. Their guards continue to play good enough to keep them within striking distance, but if you took the guards out of the game for Vandy and took the points in the paint by the rest of the players, it would be a very, very rare, just not enough accumulation of inside strength, inside scoring, and I don't see where it's going to come from. That's the thing about it. But their guards are plenty good. They really they make some plays. If they get down 12, they don't give up. They keep fighting hard. And I know the matchup is really tough for a lot of teams playing against Mannion and Lawrence. You got to get a few more games under the belt, but the Tennessee Vandy game is going to be pretty interesting to watch and see how they handle the balance that Tennessee has, and they have really, really good balance.
Coach B, I put this out a couple of days ago, and I want to know whether you agree or disagree. I want to believe that Candace Lee knows full well that there has to be a coaching change at the end of the year, and that as a good athletic director should, she's kind of stayed below the radar, not saying anything. And at the end of the year, there will be a change. And, finally, there will be some hope in Vandy basketball. I've also, however, said this. If she decides to be tone deaf and ignore the whole thing, that ultimately there's an anger flashpoint to Vanderbilt basketball that is not there in football. Vanderbilt fans understand the odds of what it takes in football, but they're not buying it in basketball. And so my opinion is that if this season continues the way it is and she ignores it, eventually it'll get her fired.
Well, we saw a Vandy team last year really kind of get up off the mat down the stretch and win a lot of games, and they showed you some hope. So maybe that'll happen again. Maybe they've got an opportunity with Tennessee coming to town to make a huge statement and get some momentum. We'll have to see if that can happen.
Do you think it can?
I don't know. It's like you said, there are a lot of surprises out there all across college basketball. There are some really strange events, games that you would never believe would end up like they did. So I think if they can get a little inside help, and if they can get enough outside shooting and the guards can penetrate, you never know. I think that they'll play better than a lot of people expect against Tennessee.
Why is that, Coach B? Because you see a lot of times these Stackhouse teams, they don't really get blown out. They had that bad loss to Alabama last year by 50, I think. But what is it about, whether it's his style, the way they play, the players they've got, that it never really tends to get too ugly?
I think it's because they have guards that keep them in the game. Even last year, Mannion down the stretch was just really a force. Yeah. And I don't know what happened to Lawrence. He came back this year, but he didn't seem like himself early on. But we've seen maybe moments and periods where he has been pretty good. And then they've got a couple of good shooters, but they've got to get some offensive rebounds, some kind of cheap points in the paint, that sort of thing. I just like to know if you took out the guards, how many made shots they have in the paint by the other players.
Okay.
Not many.
No, that's true. We'll go to the break on that. Kelly Holcomb will be front and center stage with Coach B in just a moment. Stay tuned. We're talking college basketball on the George Plaster Show.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
We are back. Let's see, right to left on your radio dial would be Ron Bargatze. In the middle is Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, the floor is yours.
Oh, now you're good,
Can
Kelly.
you hear
Sorry.
me?
Yeah.
Come on, Billy.
My bad, my
Billy.
bad.
Coach, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Kelly. How you doing, man?
I talked to Coach Thompson the other day. He said, yeah, you're a good guy, good man.
Well, they don't come much better than Louis Thompson, and you know that already.
No, they really don't, man. I remember when he came to Lincoln County, and it was Bear Bryant the second. Good gracious, man. He was a drill sergeant, but you have to be that. You know that when you become a new head coach and you go into a place where, you know, we had won a lot of games, but the discipline was a little lax. And when you go into a place, man, you got to show that you're the colonel, and he sure did.
Well, you got that honestly because that's some Bear Bryant hand-me-down discipline. So we know. And plus, he came out of Unicoi County. That'll toughen you up there.
I know, absolutely. No, so I asked a guy, and I'm like a broken record. So I asked a guy, Taylor Barnett, yesterday. And I'm going to ask you this: how hard is it in today's college basketball, college football, any college, because this is a buzzword, and Watson said it the other day, this wasn't around the culture, you know, it was just a team. We're trying to build a team, and now everybody talks about culture. How hard is it to coach, to create a culture in today's athletic in NCAA?
Well, I've talked to a lot of college coaches around the country this year, leading up to this year, and I'll tell you what, some of those, what people would call old school terminology, the culture and developing players, everything has been turned upside down by NIL and about the transfer portal. And it's just, I don't want to sound like an old fogey, but I am one. And I can tell you now, it is not the same game that we have enjoyed for several decades now. It's a totally different world, and not just in basketball, but in everything. You see, I want to know what the definition of a commitment is, because they decommitted and they recommitted, and all that committed stuff gets thrown around like it's salt and pepper. But I just can't believe what a commitment is and what it's not.
Could you do it today? I know I'm sure you're probably glad that you're out of it, but could you do it today? I mean, most people, like I'm going to say, and I'm sure you could too, you're a coach, you can adjust, but would you want to, or could you?
I would have a hard time, and you're seeing guys step away. Who knows if Saban was ready to leave at age 72? Surely he could have gone for age 75, but I think a lot of these coaches are fed up with having to fight that battle, re-recruit players. Every time you discipline a player, take him out of the game, try to correct something, he's thinking about that transfer portal. And it's always been the case if something like that persists. But today it's so readily available, and the rules are so lax on movement of where a player is, that the grass looks green on the other side comes into play more readily and quicker, I think, than ever.
So we have a guy from UT, Tony Basilio, on all the time, and he talks about the Dalton Connect kid from Northern Colorado coming in here. Just give us your expertise on what you think about him. I mean, because somebody said the other day, I mean, he's probably going to be up for the Player of the Year in the SEC. Maybe the country. Do you think?
I think if you had to pick a guy right now, that he would be the guy. You know, he's kind of a poor man's Larry Bird. He scores from the perimeter. He scores on the move. He takes it to the basket. He can flush it when he needs to in a crowd. I love the guy as a player, and he is the missing link on where their program needed to go to make it, take it the next step. But they've got a lot of guys on that team. When Vescovy becomes a secondary player, which he really is not, but he's not a guy that's lighting it up every night from outside or penetrating to the basket. If Vescovy gets his 10 points and 7 assists per game, penetrates the basketball, kicks it out. Adu has done a phenomenal job scoring around the inside. He's a big presence in there. If James would kind of reach back and be what he was the year before last, they might be the dead solid favorite to win the conference.
Do you think the Connect kid can get them past the Sweet 16? I mean, it looks like they got pretty much the same teams they had last year, and they just added him, right? I mean, am I correct?
And I thought Gainey came in last week and really gave them some things that we haven't seen. He's a big addition to them. They got some specialists there they can plug in different situations, and I think that kind of depth is what Rick Barnes did not have last year.
What do you? I asked this question to Taylor yesterday, and I'm going to ask you. What do you think about? I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Billy used Big C, the freshman kid at Kentucky.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that he can kind of enable those guys to get over the top too? I mean, is he a good player?
I think so. I don't. I think I watched Kentucky maybe 6 or 7 times this year, and we've seen them be awfully good and hard to sometimes find out how they can go in those spurts and have those empty possessions, 6, 7 empty possessions at a time in some cases, and that's not like most Kentucky teams. And they got some young guys playing, but when all the smoke clears, I would be shocked if the 2 Alabama teams and Tennessee and let me think. I think Kentucky, Tennessee, and the 2 Alabama teams are the 4 best teams in the league. And I think when it's all smoke clears, I think that's who's going to be there.
Well, me looking from the outside and being a football guy, looking at college basketball, I can remember growing up, and it used to be, the Dukes, the North Carolinas, the Kansas, all these teams now, and it seems like there's a lot of parity going on. And do you think that is because of the transfer portal? I mean, it just seems like every night, if you don't have your A game, you can be beat by somebody. Whereas, when I was growing up, Duke, UNLV, I remember the Running Revs of old. They just, some of those teams only lost 1 or 2 games a year, and now it seems like there's so much parity going on. I mean, is that considered to the transfer portal, or is just kids getting better at these smaller schools? What is the deal with that?
I think the portal and NIL both have a way of leveling the playing field. I still think the teams with the big NIL money are going to be the ones that win out, and that's where the player's going to end up. But you see a guy, if you look at the SEC teams or the Big Ten or whomever around the ACC, some of the greatest recruiting grounds for those teams are mid-major players who go to a good program, slip through the cracks a little bit out of high school. They show what they can do, and next thing you know, they're getting the job done on the Big 5 level. And you wouldn't think of that about a guy coming from a mid-major and having that kind of impact, but it's happening around the country.
Well, it's the same thing in football. I mean, I feel sorry for high school kids now because high school kids are kind of getting left out. They're getting left out of the recruiting process because you're going to go after a kid that's been in a college program experience, been in a college weight room for 2 or 3 years. You're not going to go get a scrawny little high school kid where you got to develop. So it's kind of leaving high school kids out.
Yeah, those guys, they're going to pick a school, and then they're going to say, well, it's not working out here. Where can I go, and how much money can I get paid? You know, we used to have a handful of teams in college basketball that were trying out that NIL thing a lot sooner than it became official, and they seem to get some players that are coming out of nowhere to get them. But that's we won't mention any names, but we know who they are.
Coach B, speaking of, I might just mention one of those teams, Kentucky. Their fans are never happy. I mean, they where does that start? You go back to Adolph Rupp, Billy Gillespie. I mean, has that always been the case? I mean, they lost on the road, and their fans are just freaking out. I don't understand that. They are never happy.
They've always been that way. I mean, they're. I've had a lot of conversations over the years with Joe B. Hall back in the old days. And of course, Calipari kind of takes it to a different level because of his, notoriety around the country and what he did at Memphis. And, when he and John Chaney almost got into a fight at a press conference. I mean, those are some great things. But when you look at the North Carolina now and look at Duke, they're good. They're really good, but they also have some vulnerability that they didn't always have back in the day when teams were developing players and they were getting better year after year. It's one of those things where you can have a U-turn and a New York second.
Last thing for me, Coach, especially with Vanderbilt right now, if they're looking for a new coach after the season, I'm sure there will be several coaches, young coaches that would love to take that job here in Nashville, in a great city. We know that. We've seen coaches like a Nate Oates or even Chris Beard this year at Ole Miss. Bruce Pearl got it rolling pretty quick at Auburn. I mean, you talked about this last time. I think it doesn't take as long as a lot of people think, especially in basketball and especially in the SEC, to build a program up to where the fans think it should be, and maybe even bigger. Like at Auburn, I don't know that many fans thought Bruce Pearl could bring them to these heights. He took them to a Final Four. Look at what Nate Oates has done at Alabama. Are those two coaches just phenomenal coaches and their teams are winning because they're great coaches? Or can it be, a 2-year fix or 3-year fix at a lot of these schools?
It can be. In basketball, sometimes it's one player who can really make the difference. I mean, this year, Dalton Knecht comes in there and just does a lot of stuff in between, plays on the perimeter, plays inside, but he's a guy that is a big difference maker just because of the varied game that he has, how many different ways he can score. But not many players around the country like him.
So, Coach B, let me take that one step farther, because it's hard to believe when you watch this guy that nobody 2 years ago said, whoa, we got to get on Dalton Knecht. I mean, it's like he was this invisible thing that dropped, out of the heavens, landed in Knoxville, and is Tennessee's Christmas present. Was he that late a bloomer, or was he that badly judged as far as the evaluation of him?
Well, there's a terrific number of really good basketball players around the country. After going through the Missouri Valley the last 2 or 3 years and getting more familiar with them, there are coaches and programs in that league as good as anywhere. Sometimes it's maybe an average of 3 inches per position on their team, but there's some great coaches. They know they have a system. Right now, their biggest fear is losing players. Last year, I thought at Belmont that Jacoby Gillespie and Cade Tyson were going to be two guys that would be really hard to retain. And I have that same feeling now because they lost Gillespie with a broken wrist, and their whole complexion of their team changed. It's kind of like the Darius Garland effect. Whenever he was here under Bryce Drew, and in the 4th or 5th game, he's out for the year, and the team totally went in the tank because he was the guy that meant so much to their team. And there are players who can affect their team much more than others, and usually it's a point guard or somebody like Connect who can score many different ways. But there's a guy that no one ever heard of him, and now everybody in the whole country can pronounce his name and admire what he can do to help the team.
Yeah, we've connected with him. How would you guard him Saturday?
Oh, I would try to keep the ball off of him as much as we can. Put a great athlete on him. Try to deny him the basketball, and try to make some other guys beat you. But Tennessee's got enough balance that they're able to get answers from other places now, and they've got Gainey in there to look great against Alabama, and we know that the little man out front is plenty good and can really break down defenses. So it's hard to keep an eye on everybody at the same time.
Ray Mears would love this, wouldn't he?
He would love it. He wouldn't like that transfer portal, and he would not like well, I don't know. He might like that NIL a lot.
See you soon, Coach B. Good
All
stuff.
right. Thank you. Okay.
He is the great Ron Bargatze, and he'll be with us each and every Thursday. Kelly, you just sort of met up with him a week ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't. I hadn't heard anything about Coach Bargatze. I'd never heard of him, and then I didn't realize that he was at Austin Peay with Coach Thompson, and that kind of put us connected. And then I text Coach Thompson. He's like, "Oh yeah, Coach B, he's a good dude, man. He's a really good man."
The first time I met him, I was a camper at the Roy Skinner basketball camp, and I was a royal pain in the butt. And they gave me the Gnat of the Week award, GNAT. That's where I first got to know him. He was my color analyst for a year on Vanderbilt radio, and we go back a long ways together. Anyway, we'll go to the break. It's a really weak card tonight in college basketball. I've got 2 picks. I need some wins. Stay tuned.
The George Plaster Show is Nashville's best sports talk, 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. There's a podcast version available on Spotify and Apple Podcast.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
Final segment on a Thursday. As George mentioned, not the best college basketball card tonight, but we'll see where he's going. It's time for Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give him a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. All right, here we go with the results from last night. And, George, you had, 3 plays last night?
Yeah, let me say this. I knew this was coming. Kelly calls me at about 8:05 this morning to sort of let me know that I did not get 2 out of 3. Wanted to let me know that I was damn lucky to get 1 out of 3, which in fact is true. Georgia could have helped me. They were up 6-8 all night long and caved at the end. And LSU almost won it at the buzzer. They had a length of, I don't know how many people saw the length of the court pass to a former Vandy hoopster, Jordan Wright. And how that shot didn't go down, I have no idea. Anyway, that's me being a little bitter. Iowa sucked in the second half. They got nothing done. Maryland got in their jock, guarded the crap out of them, and at the end, they were the better team. I was very disappointed. But I was disappointed Kelly's lack of sportsmanship this morning, to call that early to rub it in.
You said it was a bookie. So I'm just saying, and you're lucky to win that Alabama game because they almost lost your points too. They only won by 4.
What you find, being truthful for a second, what you find in the big conferences is when they get into conference play, most of your games are decided by 6 or less. Who hits free throws in the final 2 minutes ultimately decides a lot of these games. And it is hard when you get in conference play. I'm not making it does sound like an excuse. It's hard.
Like Alabama, Alabama, like you said, Kelly, was lucky to cover, but that hook makes it so hard. I mean, because you got to get to 4. You can't just win by 3. And I think people see the initial 3 and you go, oh, they'll win by 3, but no, it's 1.5. So you got to remember that.
That's why they have chandeliers in Vegas.
That's correct. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. These guys that do that stuff are pretty intelligent. They have a pretty good hone on the game.
By the way, did Buffalo beat Kansas City? So, nope. Billy, here's one thing that I've started to notice. College basketball has shifted more to a Tuesday night and Wednesday night as the big nights. This card tonight is a dud.
Yeah, you used to get some really good matchups on Thursday nights, especially in the SEC. Are there any SEC games tonight?
Nope. And to be honest, you got about 4 different networks that show games. You've got all of the ESPN family of games. You've got Fox. You've got CBS Sports Network.
Yeah.
And tonight there's some real duds.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, let's see your dud picks.
Okay. I'm taking Eastern Illinois over Tennessee Tech. I know that'll thrill the people in Cookeville. And then this one, which is one of the better games of the night, SMU goes on the road. North Texas is pretty good. They're very physical. What I remember of them, they play great defense, but SMU is pretty good. I'm going with them.
Okay. These are not bookets, though.
Oh, good Lord, no. My confidence level right now is at a 2024 low.
Wow.
This is like desperation mode.
No, we're not desperate. Desperate is when you're 11-26 and people are mocking you.
Yeah, George, pick your game up. Let's go. Grow up.
Yeah. 17-20 is fixable. Don't you tell me to grow up.
You're on the hot seat, George.
So are we rid of you tomorrow?
You are. I've got to go to Fayette, Vegas, man.
Fayette, Vegas.
Billy, it'll be a good day on the show.
It will be.
Y'all have twice the amount of people that tune in to the show because I'm gone.
Oh, that's not true. Kelly, you have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
See y'all.
Billy, thanks for all the good work in setting all the technical stuff up today that allowed us to do this. If you're wondering, I am in my kitchen, and as you can see that microwave? See that thing, Billy?
Yep.
Thank God for microwaves. See you tomorrow.
See ya.